Here we go. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Sick Podcast Recruits Draftcast. It's Sunday, so you know what that means. We're not talking football. We're talking Habs, and we're talking Habs prospects because unlike the big club, they've been doing well. So we have 4 prospects on deck today. Obviously, we're going to highlight our InstaCustoms Habs Prospect of the Week, but we have 3 honorable mentions because they just keep ripping it up down below. So, Grant, big show ahead. How about we get into it?
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Recruits Draftcast.
With our first pick in the 2022 NHL Draft, les Canadiens de Montréal sont fiers de repêcher from the Slovakian national team and TPS Turku, Juraj Slafkovsky.
The sickest NHL draft and scouting podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Producer Shane here, joined by, I hope, a healthier Grant McCagg. Grant, are you feeling any better today?
A little bit, but it's been hanging on for a week now, but get used to it after a while. Just keep blowing a nose.
Hey, if you're good enough to be here, you know what, we'll take it.
That's right.
And we'll power through it. This should be a fun show. The Habs prospects, they yet again did great this week. And you know, there's more that we could talk about that we've talked about at great lengths. I mean, Ivan Demidov comes to mind, who had a highlight reel goal, almost followed it up the exact same way, but the goalie stopped that one, and he had an assist as well in that game. He is just dominating the KHL at this moment. Jacob Fowler is on a hot streak in Boston College. Michael Hage continues to put up points in Michigan. The list goes on. Right?
Yeah. Although he missed the last game. I don't know what exactly is the deal, but he didn't dress last night.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan swept number 5 Boston U though on the weekend, so big weekend for them. They were 11th ranked going in against the 5th, and they swept BU. So they're I wouldn't be surprised if they're top 5 in the polls this week. They're certainly going to move up into the top 10, that's for sure.
Very nice, and led obviously by Michael Hage, the top point getter on that team. Like you mentioned, did not dress the last game. Hopefully we'll be back in the lineup for the next. Grant, we'll get to the prospects in a bit here, but just touch on the big club first. 3 losses in a row now. Lost yesterday to the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-1. A boring game, just nothing to sink your teeth in there. It's not clicking at all. What do you think? Is it time for a call up? I know a lot of people are asking for it, right? You see guys in Laval, and we'll get to that, right? Well, you see the likes of Joshua Roy, Alex Barré-Boulet, who's injured now, but he's been doing great. Luke Tuck brings an element of physicality. He's been having a good season. Owen Beck too. What do you think? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, I was calling for, I tweeted something out there yesterday and got a lot of response, obviously. It's funny how many people are defending Armia. -8, a goal and 3 assists. He's a great penalty killer. Well, you kill a penalty about 5% of the game, right? Like, what about the other 95% of the game? It's kind of important that you're good 5-on-5, I thought actually Armia didn't play too badly last night. I'll give him that. And Dvorak, the 2 guys that I kind of called for.
Scored,
being sent down in part because it's easier for those guys. They're likely going to clear waivers, but if they don't, that's okay too. At this point, I don't think the Canadiens would lose a lot of sleep. Canadiens would lose a lot of sleep if either of them were picked up on waivers if you tried to send them to the minors. So
I feel like he'd be happy. One of the reasons.
Yeah, and you're not going to
a big contract there.
You're not going to do that with Brendan Gallagher. You're not going to send
No.
him to the minors. You're, the guy that's give his heart and soul for the last decade and wears an A. You're not doing it with him. Josh, well, he may struggle here and there, but he is always given his heart and soul. And we saw in that fight the other night, you aren't going to send him. What did they do? They did the same thing Marty does every time he fights. Did you ever notice that after he gets in the scrap, he promotes him to the top line? I don't know, like he did it before. He did it again. Like
it's not everyone that can feed
but I
Tom
mean,
Wilson
to beat
like
up
that.
Tom Wilson, that was
exactly.
oh, it's the hardest I've cheered all year, to be honest with you. When he freaking put him down there, whoa! I jumped out of my seat.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
So when that's your most exciting highlight of the season to start, they haven't been off to a great start, but no, that was one of my highlights of the year so far was Anderson. Wilson's a bit of a dink, like he's done a lot of stuff. He one of the guys I dislike the most in the league because he's done some pretty shady stuff right in the past. So and he's one of the toughest, like he's one of the better fighters. So it surprised me but Josh was the one that was angry, eh? And sometimes that's Wilson wasn't really angry, but Josh was like just it seems like Canadians just keep getting like, and then Slav, right? Slav gets
Nola Cherry yesterday he was out, looking for trouble the whole game and then catches Slav right in the face. No penalty, right? So obviously, it's going to get rectified at some point in the game. And you know what? Credit to Arbor Jackeye. He told him that it's not going to fly.
Yeah. And it always, the people that think that somebody, goes up to hit someone and thinks, I'm going to hit him with my knee first. Like, it just never happens. It's just not the way. You don't purposely say, well, it'd be like getting in a fight and I'm going to use my knee. I mean, the only time that would be when you're going to knee somebody in the groin or the nose or something, but just say, oh, well, I'm going to ram my knee into that other person's knee. That's that's how I'm going to hit somebody. You don't you can blow your own knee out just as easily as the other person. It's when the person moves, then you hit knees, right? And it's always what happens. The person tries to avoid the hit and they end up hitting knees. But the people that say, oh no, he purposely tried to hit him with his knee. Well, you never do that. You just don't. It's involuntary. It's, it happened. He wasn't getting out of the way. He was hitting him regardless. And his knee at that point, he probably says, oh, well, if my knee's hitting him, but I'm hitting this guy. But when he went to, stepped up to hit the guy, it wasn't to hit his knee. It was to freaking cream him. And it's too bad that so many people got in the way there and he never got a chance to really get at him, because I think Mr. Cherry would have felt the full wrath of the sheriff. But I mean, it just goes to show you how, and I like I don't know if you heard the post game with Gadstick and the X and that, but Slav, you can tell that he's beloved and he's always smiling. Like they said, he's they love him and they want to protect the number 1 overall pick. He's still only 20 years of age to get. So good for them to good for Jackeye to answer the bell at the end, even if he didn't really get him, but just let them know. But again, it shouldn't be. It seems like it's always being left up to the players here this year. Like that's the 3rd time now that a Canadian player got, line A, who else, who got the head hit that
Kirby
and the
Doc.
Baron.
Doc, Baron.
4 times now that, that the refs just, oh no, nothing to see here. Sorry, that's 4 friggin' times now. Like, stop. Call the penalties when, like, after a while, you start to think, okay, it's not just coincidence. It's like, what, really? Come on now. So no wonder the Canadians get revved up, and then they end up getting the repercussions. Well, do you blame them? No, I don't.
No.
I'm glad.
I'd blame them if they didn't reciprocate.
Yeah.
If they just sat there idly and let it happen, that would be an issue.
Right.
But they don't.
Right.
They respond, and that's good.
Yeah, for sure. But better defensive effort, obviously. But still, I mean, you got the feel. Did you get the feeling? Ever have the feeling? At least for the first 50 minutes of the game, that the Canadians were going to win that game. It's yet another game where after 10 minutes, I almost felt, well, I want to go watch the wallpaper dry for the rest of the evening or something, because you just don't get the feeling right now that they're going to win a hockey game. And that's not a good feeling, but
no,
a little better effort, or certainly a better effort defensively, but I still want to see more competitiveness in the first half of the game. Seems like they just aren't coming out with the fire that you'd like to see from them.
That's it. I mean, last night I was at a pub with a buddy to watch the game, and I'll be honest, there was this group of girls singing karaoke there, and I was more entertained by that than the game. I really couldn't care less. Like that was a nothing burger. Like there was nothing of substance in that game. I don't know. That's one to forget. But luckily, the AHL affiliate Laval Rocket are rolling right now. Absolutely steamrolling the AHL. 8-1 to start the season on a 7-game heater. Actually, they might be 9-1 now. No, 8-1. 8-1. But they've been phenomenal to start the season. And last night they win it. Well, last afternoon they win again against Providence. This time 6-3. Joshua Hua hat trick. Logan Mailloux 4 points. Just a collective, really, really strong effort there.
Yeah, for sure. Providence played pretty well this weekend, and they
did.
They outshot them both games, and I don't know that they didn't deserve to leave the weekend with no points. But when you're, unlike the Canadians, it seems like Laval's just everything's going their way right now. Like that goal that Arsenal scored.
You have to be good to be lucky, right?
Well, I mean, it got them going, but it was, it was really lucky goal, So, and I think we actually might even have it in part of our highlight package. But even they keep rolling, even with the injuries, right? I mean, they lose Reinbacher, then they lose Michar. Davidson didn't play last night. Dobish is out, so they had to play Connor Hughes both games, and he was great. Stepped right up. You start to wonder. I think they'll keep. Dobish is still going to be the number one because he's the young guy and he's the guy of the future. But they got no issues whatsoever with starting Hughes. He's been excellent so far since joining Laval.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And I mean, you look at the goaltending up in Montreal. Both goalies in the 800 save percentage. Primo's struggled. Bothabo looked better last night. You got to give him credit there. But with Dobesh out, a lot of people are clamoring maybe, you waive Primo. His trade value is not that high. Maybe will never be high. You send him back to Laval, or you lose him, bring up Dobesh or even Hughes. What do you think about that possible scenario?
I think it's still pretty early in the season, and goalies can have a 2 or 3 game poor stretch, and I don't know. I mean, they went with 3 goalies all last year, basically till the trade deadline because they didn't want to lose Primo.
Mhm.
So, do you after 3 games to start this year? Do you cash? Do you say, oh well, let's see if we can pass them through waivers? I wouldn't. It's too early to do that. I don't think. I think you want to get ideally you get a full year out of Dovish. I think they'd be more likely to maybe pick someone up, pick up a veteran from somewhere else than they would be to rush Dovish at this point.
Yeah.
Again, it's a small sample size even for this year. Dovish had periods last year where he was very good, and then he'd be very poor. Well, would he be very poor as soon as he got called up to Montreal? I think in the past they were a little guilty of bringing up Primo too quickly at times, and then he always looked like a fish out of water. Well, would the same, would you hurt Dovish's confidence if you brought him up and fed him Kucherov and guys like that? They're a little better shooter than the average guy in the AHL, right? So,
Right.
No, you're gonna have to be a little bit patient with him, I think, at this point. And like I say, he's injured, so it's kind of a moot point right now, anyway.
That's it. I mean, my God, like Laval's dealing with a lot of injuries, right? We're used to the Habs being injured and then Laval players going up to replace.
Boulet too.
It's Barré-Boulet, Philip Meshar, Jakob Dobesh, Jared Davidson now.
All playing well.
Keeps piling up. So hopefully, you know what, finish, end there. No more injuries. Didn't even play a game yet.
No. So, I mean, but for them to be 8-1, rolling like that,
all in one.
Next thing you're going to hear is people saying, "Well, bring up Vincent for the coaching staff." Oh, I'm sure some will be saying replace.
We've been hearing it. Yeah, we've been hearing
replace Marty with Vincent. But anyway, at least they know there's somebody in the organization, if need be, that they could call. That they could bring in that looks like he could help the NHL coaching staff. But good for the Canadiens to keep it to 3 goals last night, and let's hope that now the offense can get going some. And Newhook and Doc, they really have to get it turned around. I have been disappointed with Newhook, especially. At least Doc has an excuse.
Yeah,
like I'm giving him some time to get his legs back, and because serious injury like that, it takes time. But Newhook, I don't know what's up with him. It's been pretty disappointing. You give him Doc and Slavkovsky as line mates. It's not like he doesn't have guys to play with. It's just he's struggling right now.
Yeah, we know what he can bring, right? We know last season he had a good season, and there's more. There's more there.
I thought he struggled in the first half too. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's it takes him half a year to get going usually, but it'd be nice to see him start a season strong and not just end it strong.
Absolutely. Well, nonetheless, there are a lot of encouraging tidbits from a not so encouraging season so far. If you look more to Laval and the prospects outside of the organization, there is quite a bit to be excited about. And 2 first-round picks. If you follow the show, you know that the 2025 draft class is serious. Okay, it's a serious class. So lots to be excited about. And Grant, there's a lot to be excited about. Our InstaCustoms Habs Prospect of the Week. Let's get to it.
InstaCustoms Habs Prospect of the Week.
And as it says in the name, the InstaCustoms Habs Prospect of the Week is obviously brought to you by InstaCustoms. All right. The InstaCustoms is Canada's highest rated custom apparel and drinkware print shop, boasting an impressive 4.9 Google star rating. Whether you need printed or embroidered t-shirts, hoodies, crew necks, hats, and more, they got you covered. They specialize in emergency rush orders to meet your tight deadlines. While their store is conveniently located on Stanley Street in downtown Montreal, or ordering online is so easy. Order today, printed today, pick up or ship today. So visit them now at InstaCustoms.com. Grant, I mentioned him already. 4 points last night, last afternoon. Man, these afternoon games are screwing me. It's up to 9 points in 4 games this season with the Laval Rocket. Our InstaCustoms Habs Prospect of the Week is Logan Mailloux.
Yep. Well, he's that was a beautiful pass. You just gotta. He just seems to be dominant at the AHL level right now.
Yeah.
Nice hit by Simino there, right?
Simmer. Wow.
And then
Honey
the fighting, and then the scrap he had too. But this one, this is the Arsenal goal that kind of got things rolling. Look at that. I mean, Mailloux, that was a kind of a generous assist. Look at that pass he made there, right? That just got tipped away. I loved the feed he made at the start of this, and then another great feed here. Of course, he gets it back and then shoots that wrist shot of his. He's got one of the best wrist shots in hockey. I saw it in junior over and over again. Look how hard that is and accurate, and he barely moved. Like it shows off his strength. I love this pass back to Roy, and then bing, beautiful. He made a great defensive play here. Got the puck back, got it back to Roy, empty netter. So 4-point night last night, pretty impressive. Had an assist in the game before. Had an assist with Montreal earlier in the week before he got sent back down.
And a goal.
Yeah, so 6 points in last 3 games, which is pretty impressive. And I mean, we've got a little stat here that we can show. Points per game. I mean, pretty impressive. 2.25 points per game. Number one. That's a defenseman. You know, pretty impressive. Couple of NHL defensemen, Addison and Branston, former ones that are in that group. But for him to start off the year, obviously only small sample size or whatever, but he I think as long as he's in the AHL this year, he's a point per game guy, likely or more.
Easily.
And last year, Brant Clark led all defensemen with 0.92 points per game, and now he's a regular in the NHL. So 21 years old to be off to a start like that at the AHL level, it gives you an idea of his offensive potential.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we see it every time he goes back to Laval. It's like, okay, I'm the king here, and he'll be if he ends up playing most of the year in the AHL, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the defenseman of the year, because he's not just an offensive guy, as we've seen. He's averaging like 3.5 minutes on the PK, on the top PK on Laval. They're at the top of the league. He's physical. He's solid defensively in the AHL. He's had some issues, with the big club in his own zone at times, but that goes for every Habs defenseman this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's Savard, Matheson, Hudson, you name them all. They've all had some struggles. Even Struble has struggled a bit defensively with the start that they've had in Montreal. So that I didn't pay too much. He was on for 5 goals against his last 2 games with the Canadiens, but I didn't think really he was to blame necessarily for any of them. So just keep building his confidence. His chance will come with the Canadiens before the end of this year, I'm sure, again. But hey, hard not to be leading the AHL in points per game, 4-point game, 6 points in 3 games as a defenseman. That was an easy call for me as the InstaCustoms Habs Prospect of the Week.
And I second the pick. He absolutely deserved it. And it's very encouraging to see that he's already kind of a tweener at 21 years old. You know what I mean? Usually at that stage, you're good in the you should be good in the AHL. He's dominating. He is the best player in the AHL at the moment. So, there's still some kinks to be ironed out at the NHL level defensively, but luckily, defensive game is the easiest thing to teach, right? You can't teach the offensive prowess. So I think, within the next year, he'll be a regular in the NHL, you have to think, right?
I think so. Yeah, for sure. I concur.
Well, how about we stay in Laval, because there's another guy I mentioned who had a hat trick last afternoon by the name of Joshua Roy, and he is our first honorable mention this week.
Yeah, Burrs. Well, nice to see him get the hattie last night. Nice pass back there. That was the game before. Here, I like the effort by Kidney there. Then it comes back to we saw that in the queue last year. He's got a great release. It's quick, but takes it back from Mailloux here.
Oh,
he's got a deadly shot from there. Wrister. Yeah. Goalie didn't stand a chance. You can see it just from that angle there. We saw that about 30 times in the queue, deadly on the power play. And then, hey, it was nice of Vincent. Let's get him out there on the, with the empty net and try to get him the hattie. And it was well-deserved. And he's now second in the AHL in goal scoring with 7 and tied for 5th in points with 10. So just like last year, remember he was at this point last year, I think he was leading the AHL in scoring. So he's nice to see him get out of the gate quickly at the AHL level. And it's just, again, I think he's 21 as well. So another guy that that his time in the AHL is fleeting and that he will be an NHLer sooner rather than later. Especially if the Canadiens keep struggling like they are, he'll be getting the call up pretty quickly.
Exactly. No, the offensive skills are undeniable. I mean, he's got it, right? He's got it. You got to have that pure talent, and he does. It's just the rest around it that maybe needs a bit of work, right? The engagement, the intensity, all that good stuff. But again, that can be taught. That's, I think he's in a great environment right now. He's being given the opportunities to flourish and learn from a great coach, Pascal Vincent. There's some great veterans on that team as well, right? We see that the young guys are really kind of carrying the load at the moment, but there's some great veterans. I mean, Laurent Dauphin, Brandon Gignac, Alex Barré-Boulet. There's a lot of guys that he can look up to there. So I think he's in a great spot.
Simoneau's
he's a great example.
It may not be an old vet, but he's an AHL vet now and just character. He's
got heart. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Honey badger.
Love to see him chirping. Like it seemed like him and Gignac, well, they both got in scraps. And between them, they're not much bigger than Mailloux, and they're the ones that were scrapping everybody and chirping it after the whistle. And just Simoneau he has, just like Lane Hudson, he has no idea that he's 100 and 5'7" and 170 pounds. Just no one got him a mirror. I don't think he had a mirror as a kid. And
that's fine.
I just love his attitude. He's a great example for the young guys. Meshar be a good, somebody that can say, "Oh, okay," Look at this guy. I look down at him and look at the grit that he has. He has no problem, sticking his nose in there. So great leader, great example for the rest of them. And he'll be wearing an A next year. I wouldn't doubt it at the AHL level.
For sure. For sure. No, that's it looks fine. It looks fine. But he absolutely is a leader. He was a captain in juniors. And it's funny. Like I had this thought yesterday watching the game. I'm like, if this guy was 6'1", he would be an NHLer right now. Right? He's
Absolutely.
got quite a bit of skill. Right? He's not just a ground and pound kind of guy. Like he can score. He can generate offense.
Oh yeah.
He's very valuable. But the fact that he's 5'7" is definitely what's going to hold him back. But I would not be shocked if one day we see him wearing the CH on his jersey. So he's a player that this organization should hold on to for a long time. I agree.
Absolutely. I agree.
Now
100%.
we head on, for our next honorable mention, we head on to the WHL for a recently drafted player in the 2024 draft. He kind of took a lot of fans, maybe not by surprise, but took their attention at development camp and rookie tournament. And of course, we're talking about Tyler Thorpe.
Yeah. Well, he just had a 3-game stretch where he had 4 goals and 2 primary assists. You can see the shot, like he's got a great release. But one of those goals was a shootout goal. But hey, they count it in Instats, so we're going to count it here too.
Absolutely.
Now he had 18 shots on goal in those 3 contests and was a physical force, throwing 10 hits. So one of them was an empty net goal and one of them was shootout. But hey, I like his hands here. He's very good around the net, but you'll get a better look there where he that was like the puck was off the ice and he
that's good.
Kinda baseball style got her into the net. So he's I don't know. I was supposed to have the shootout goal in that highlight. I don't know what happened there, but anyway, sorry about that, folks. We did have his shootout goal, but I guess I didn't load it when I sent that video. But he's got 7 goals and 8 assists now, point a game. I think he's just starting to get rolling. Probably going to be a 30-plus goal scorer. I thought he might even be a 40, and he might yet. 30 to 40 goal guy, probably in the WHL. That's one of the bigger, more physical power forward types. So he's starting to heat up like I thought he would to begin the year, and wouldn't be surprised to see him catch fire as he goes along here and ends up being one of the top power forwards in the WHL.
That's big. I mean, pun intended. He was a later pick in the draft, right? When those picks start to hit, that's great value. So, he's like 6'5" or something. The guy's a giant, and the
torpedo.
The torpedo. I love that nickname. We're going to be using it from now on for sure. But there's nothing more infuriating than a big player who doesn't use his body, right? Who doesn't forecheck hard. He does. He's well aware of how big and strong he is, and he takes advantage of that. So, for anybody saying that the Habs are too small, well, they got a big boy coming. And you know what? They got 2 others in Laval who were I think the third line at the rookie tournament there against Toronto, right? Florida Jack guy and Luke Tuck. Those are 2 guys that are also well known for their physicality. So don't worry. There's a whole variety of different prospects in this prospect pool, from offensive dynamos to ground and pound and in your face kind of guys. It's good. It's good to see.
And with 4 picks in the top 50 coming up in this draft, I would suspect at least 2 of those are going to be physical, good size physical players that bring a 2-way game. I think that's, it's noticeable on the big club that's still needed. And the management's well aware of that, and look for them to keep adding. They've got the Hage and Demidov, they got the elite skill guys coming.
Yeah.
But you're still, there's, that top 9 guy that can just be scary out there, I think is some that they seek, and that they'll trying to find. They'll be drafting some bruisers in the top 50. I would suspect in this upcoming draft.
I agree. And if you haven't watched it already, we invite you to go check out Grant's very first top 50 rankings, preliminary rankings for the 2025 draft class. We do address this, and we have some names. There's a pretty good selection of
Eddie Genborg
players. Yeah,
Eddie Genborg had 3 points again on the weekend. I was keeping an eye on him. I gotta keep looking at him, but there's somebody that I hope the Canadiens are seriously. I know last draft I loved Hage, but I was hoping that they'd take Surin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's still a need for that Surin type guy that can play in your top 9, that has that skill, but that is also just a torpedo, and I hope that Eddie Genborg, somebody that the Canadiens are keeping close tabs on.
Yeah, and we mentioned guys like Malcolm Spence, maybe a bit higher. Bill Zonin is another guy. So
True.
If you're more interested in this topic, go check out that video. We talk about it in greater lengths. But for now, we still have one more honorable mention to get to, and we're going to go over to Europe for this one. We've featured him before as our prospect of the week, but Vincent's Roar keeps rolling. So let's have a look at that.
He was the one guy that I thought could have been the other prospect of the week.
Great pass.
Beautiful play by him there. Get the puck up. His skating just keeps improving. Like, he only turned 20 recently, and just his skating has gotten better and better. Zurich scored 5 goals in 2 games this week. Roar had a hand in 4 of them. Now, he had 2 game-winning goals. Zurich won 2-1 yesterday, and he scored their only goal in regulation and only goal in the shootout. Now, you can see, you can notice that his speed has really improved, and it's great to see that. I don't know why that went on so long. There's some bugs in these highlights, but anyway, there was another goal he scored. Here was a fluky one he got, but from behind the net, they all count.
Goal's a goal.
Yeah, here was the greatest one. I love this, but you check out his speed on that, and then boom. Now, Zurich won yesterday. That was his goal, the only goal they scored, and then that was the only goal in the shootout. So Zurich won 2-1. He scored that beautiful goal you saw, and then the even more beautiful shootout goal. And the only one out of the 9 shooters to get a goal. And that was that was definitely a goal. Nobody was stopping that one. That was a beautiful move. But Zurich scored 5 goals this week, and he was in on 4 of them. And he had the game winners in both. So he played almost 22 minutes yesterday. So basically their first line center now just turned 20 last month. So Mark Crawford's the coach here in Zurich.
Mm-hmm.
He's, he won the Stanley Cup, right? In Colorado. Like, he knows his hockey. Obviously he loves this kid. He's got him at 20 years of age, centering his top line now. He's seen the improvement curve that, he had him last year, and then this year he was 3rd line center by the playoffs last year, and they won it all. But now he's just taken yet one more step. So always loved his competitiveness and smarts. It was his physical skills that needed to come, and I think a lot of it was just he's a early September birthday, so he was younger than everybody else in his draft class, so he needed to physically mature, and we're seeing that now, because as you saw in those highlights, his speed's good.
Mm-hmm.
The Swiss League is one of the 3 fastest leagues, I think, on the planet. Very, very fast hockey, and his speed stands out now. Well, his first year of junior, like his draft year, I thought he was below average skater. Mm-hmm. So in 2 years' time, we've seen that much of an improvement in his speed. So that was the missing ingredient for me, was the physical strength and speed. So it's come light years. I think if he comes back over to, I hope he does, over to North America next year, or I don't know how long his contract is, but if it's next year or the year after, he will be a good player in Laval and help them immensely. So I've got him back. Last year I didn't think, and 2 years ago I didn't think he was a NHL prospect necessarily. Mm-hmm. I figured, especially when he went back to Europe, well, that's the last we see of him. But I've changed my tune on that. He's a legitimate NHL prospect.
Yeah, and he's another product of the 2022 draft class, right? Which is looking like a franchise-altering class for the Canadiens. I mean, Slavkovsky, right? Lane Hudson, Owen Beck, Philip Meshar, who looked really good in the AHL before he got injured. Vincent Rohrer, Adam Engstrom was from that draft class as well.
He's
usually
so
when you
good,
hit,
Laval.
usually when you hit on about 3 players in a draft class, it's considered a success, right? I just named you 6.
Yeah,
that's excellent stuff. So shout out to Nick Bobrov and Martin Lapointe and the entire Canadian scouting staff, because they've done fantastic work. We applaud them. Grant, before we head off here, great show as always, but let's stir the pot a little. Let's have some fun. I've been seeing this on Twitter. There's a discourse at the moment in regards to the second overall pick of the 2022 draft class, that being Simon Nemec of the New Jersey Devils. He has been healthy scratched, for the last, I think, 3 or 4 games there. So now people are saying, well, maybe, we should inquire about the price. Like, how much would he cost? I want to get your thoughts here before we head off. Is he a player worth paying a lot for, because we know he's going to cost a lot, or you leave it be?
I would leave it be.
Mm-hmm.
I had him ranked like 10th or 12th in his draft. I thought he was just like Levchunov. I thought number 2 was a reach for him. Mm-hmm. That it was too high. And by the way, I went back and had a look at Levchunov's. He was -2 last night again too. I really think that Chicago dropped the ball on that one. I'm sorry, but
seeing how Demidov is playing, I think it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to determine.
Even Seneca, like if they,
he's been good.
Either one of them, like I just that was too high as far as I'm concerned. And maybe it's early. I know all that stuff, but I'm seeing the same issues that I saw with Levchunov last year, and I think they're in for a rude awakening. But Simon Nemec is not a good defender. He's his skating is average. He's not overly big. He's great with the puck. He's very confident. He developed early. Just like, you got to be careful with those guys that develop early, because they don't. And we even saw it in his draft year where he didn't. You just, some guys physically mature a little sooner than others, but I know scouts didn't see a lot more projection with him, that they thought that what you see is what you get, that 3 or 4 years down the road, he's not going to be much better than he was in his draft year. And I think that that's what we're seeing with him. He wasn't very good away from the puck in his draft year. Not the biggest guy, not a hitter really. Skating is average, like especially backward skating, agility, without the puck. So, New Jersey is seeing that now. They're seeing that he's not ready defensively, that down the road, sure, he'll probably play in the NHL and put up points, but you might have to have him in like a third pairing type scenario, even strength, and then use him on the power play type guy. That might be his ultimate, because at the NHL level, you look at their other defensemen, right? He's not better offensively than Hamilton or Hughes. So he's not going to be ahead of those guys anytime soon.
Seamus Casey's been great too.
Offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Seamus Casey's been better, right? So right there, he's fourth. He's fourth offensive defenseman, and he's not that good defensively. So no, it's way too early to write him off. Obviously, you don't do that. But I'm not shocked that this has happened, because I thought, and I had some scouting friends that didn't have him top 10, and he ended up going to New Jersey. But bear in mind that was not the deepest draft class, wasn't the greatest. Not going to go down as the best draft class in the last decade by any means. No. Shane Wright struggled. Cutter Gauthier isn't off to a great start. There's nobody really from that draft class that's lighting it up at this point. I mean, Slav's the cream of the crop, right? And
Lane Hudson is pretty good too.
Yeah. Well, he's played 10 NHL games. I'm talking, over the past 3 years in the NHL, right? Like Lane, but I'm thinking first round,
Yeah.
You could say Matthew Poitras had a blah, 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 but just the top guys, the top picks, none of them are, lights out so far. Cooley, he's got 8 points, I believe, or something like that, but only 1 goal. Slav, only 1 goal. I think the top 10 picks, if you added up their goal totals, it's pretty sparse at this point, eh? Might be 5, I think, in total. So usually your top 10 by the third year, one of the guys alone has 10 goals at this point or close to it. So it's not going to go down as the greatest draft class ever. And unfortunately, it's the year that the Canadiens have first overall pick, but they ended up with, Slav and Hudson, right? They're more than happy with that. And Slav, I think Tony was talking about it this week at one point, and as he stagnated and stuff, and slow down. He's 20 years old, and they're still going to be. Kent Hughes talked about it in his press conference in the summer that you may even see him not hit 50 points this year in his third year, and then how does he handle it and go from there? Because you often see it still at only 20 years of age. Like, for him to hit 50 as a teenager was phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And it may have everything clicked. Well, there's a really good chance he doesn't score 20 goals this year, but you don't panic with it. He's 20 years of age. There'll be ups and downs still. He's still learning the game, still learning at the NHL level. There'll be some ebbs and flows with his confidence and all that, but it's the long haul with these guys, right? Gauthier will have some struggles this year, but 2 years from now, I bet you Gautier's a hell of a NHLer. If you look at Slav, is he gonna? Well, compare him to everybody else in his draft class. Mm-hmm. He's still him and Hudson look like they're the best. He's the top point getter. He's the most physical. I love how much he wants to win too. You see it whenever he's on the ice for a goal against, or he makes a mistake. Right? He's really really competitive, and where I think I'm really looking forward to it the most is when the Canadiens are contenders, and we're gonna see a guy that just wants to win so badly. And that's when I think you really, really feel the full value of Slafkovsky is when it playoff time down the road. I think he's just going to be a complete beast out there, because you can tell You know, the other night when they were down, like they were losing 7-2 or whatever, who was the one guy that was still just going? It was Slav. You saw it at the end of the game. He was not happy with that they were getting embarrassed. And that's a 20-year-old. Wait till he's 23 and they're good and they're in a tight playoff game. And you need that, the guy that just takes the game by the balls. It'll be Slav because he's gonna be a great one. He really is.
I agree. Well, I'm glad I asked the question. That's a great answer, and hopefully the people who are clamoring, saying, "Hey, get Nemec." Well,
no, they don't need him.
Exactly. Listen to Grant.
Well, I mean, they're having trouble defending, so you get a guy that's having trouble defending.
Yeah.
Like no, because the price, the number 2 overall pick from 2 years ago, price will be way more than what it probably deserves, So no, there's not the fit. He's overrated. Price would be too high. No, that wouldn't be the answer to anything as far as I'm concerned.
There you have it. All right. Well, this will conclude our Habs weekend edition of the Sick Podcast Recruits Draftcast. Grant, I hope you take some rest. You've been working tirelessly this week and the past week. So heal up and you know what? Get back to 100% for Friday's show.
I spoke with Larry Robinson this week for 2.5 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
I got some great stuff from him. He maybe some people can leave some comments in the section when they see this, but he named me what he thought was the best line that he ever saw. We'll see if people can guess who he thinks the best line. Now, he played with some good ones and against some good ones, like fantastic ones.
Yeah.
International competitions, Habs. But just that's a little question that maybe people can see if they can answer. And if we get, I'll have a look at the comments for our next show. And if somebody does guess who that was, we'll give them a little shout out for the next podcast.
Absolutely. And hey, you can read all about Grant's articles as well on Sick Pod News. Okay, there's post-game articles. There's great player interviews, right? And that one's for your next book. So keep an eye on that one. So Grant's all over, and it's good stuff. Yeah. Highly recommend it. Okay. That'll do it for this week. We'll be back Friday for our usual Prospects of the Week show. We'll talk about all the things that are happening right now for the 2025 draft class and a whole lot more. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe and leave us a comment, leave us a like. For Grant McCagg, I am producer Shane. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast Recruits Draftcast. We'll see you Friday. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Recruits Draftcast on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.